I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna pop the hood and we'll start looking at this thing. Now, I've had a couple of people message me and email me asking about the Brembo brakes, like how I got those. The 2020s come factory with the Brembo brakes if you get the Performance Edition. So with the Performance model, you get the Recaro seats and the Brembo brakes, but that's about all you're gonna get, and a sunroof delete, which you can argue if that really makes much of a difference in weight anyways. But here is what we're really here to look at. Okay guys, so my car is making 275 wheel horsepower on 93 octane and 372 wheel horsepower on E60 blend. So basically, ethanol is going to be your best friend when modifying a car, and I'll get into all that. I'm going to be answering some questions and just talking about some things here in a minute. But first, for anybody that doesn't want to get into all that, I just want to go over all the mods that are done to my car to reach that power level. Obviously, the first thing you're going to need is your Cobb Accesport. That's a given. First mod I did was actually the Mishimoto intake, which, by the way, I'll get into later, doesn't really do anything for you besides a sound maker. I have the Cobb Flex Fuel Kit, which runs back. Here you can see the Flex Fuel Kit. It's kind of tucked down there behind the battery. That's coming up to the control box and all that, and all these new lines. That goes back to a Dietschwerks 300C fuel pump. You're gonna come down here and I have my 1320 Performance catted downpipe. You can pick them up on eBay for like 350 bucks. You don't have to buy an expensive name brand downpipe. That 1320 Performance downpipe has been great to me and great to anybody else that I know that has used it. It's gonna be hard to see, but we have the Grimspeed electronic boost control solenoid down there, as well as a Boomba bypass valve. Now, I know a lot of people say they've had issues with the Boomba bypass valve. I haven't actually had any issues with it. When I got the car, I bought it back from my friend Tyler. So I had it on my 15 WRX for about 20,000 miles, sold it to my buddy Tyler. He put it on his WRX. It was on his for about 10,000 miles. And then I bought it back from him, and now it's back on this one. So I haven't had any issues with it leaking yet, but could be jinxing myself there. So far, so good. Then we have our Perrin TGV deletes and our PRL EGR deletes. And then we have our Grimspeed top mount intercooler, and I believe that's it. We are on a stock Catback, have a conversion piece to go from the downpipe to the factory Catback, and that's what I'm running right now. And I'm pretty sure that's it as far as performance goes. I'm probably forgetting something, but maybe not. Pretty sure that's it. And then obviously my tune. So Ron Watson tuned my car over at Fat Body Tuning. He does a great job, and he does pretty conservative tunes. A lot of people complain that they don't get enough power out of him. I think 370 freaking 2-wheel horsepower is pretty good, considering if you start pushing that, you could run into issues depending on your mod. So with this same mod from at another tuner, I could probably be making over 400 wheel, but the tune's going to be a little bit more aggressive, and that might not be the best thing. As far as the intake is concerned, where I said about you don't need one. So you really don't need an intake until you're pretty much over 400-ish horsepower. Your stock intake is going to get you to 400 horsepower all day, no issue. The only thing is obviously you're going to get some sound with it. You should not get an aftermarket intake if you are not getting one that comes with a box. If you buy an aftermarket intake and you do not have a box over it, you're going to lose power and lose efficiency. If you take this duct off, you're going to lose power and lose efficiency. Now, I know the AEM isn't a completely enclosed box, but it has that weather stripping that goes around. That might be okay. I don't know if they've done any tests or not, but running an intake without a box is like one of the worst things you can do for the car as far as performance and efficiency. It's going to actually be worse than your stock intake if you do that. Another thing to note is that with any of the intakes that come with a MAF extension cable, they're going to be a little bit less reliable, because that MAF extension sometimes gets corroded. If you talk to some of the tuners out there, some of the pro tuners, they'll tell you that that has been an issue. So if you're in the market for an intake, try and find one that does not have the MAF extension and has a box. That's a big deal. Your stock bypass valve should also be pretty good up until 400 horsepower or so. If you upgrade your turbo and you're pushing more boost, obviously you might have to go with something else. So you don't necessarily need a Boomba bypass valve or a Turbo XS or whatever bypass valve either. So potentially I could still be making the exact same power without the intake, without the bypass valve, but you get all them cool noises, so it's kind of worth it in my opinion. The TGV deletes and the EGR deletes, they're going to help keep your motor clean and running efficiently, because basically what the EGR does is it just sends basically unburnt fuel back into the motor, and it's not good to do that. That's where you get a lot of your carbon on your valves and that sort of thing. And so that helps alleviate that a little bit. Now, it's not going to get rid of it completely. Obviously, you still want to get an AOS or some Mishimoto dual baffle catch cans or something like that. Those will help a lot with as far as getting any carbon buildup or anything like that. Spark plugs, big deal. If you are like 40,000 miles, you should probably do spark plugs before you start doing power mods and get a tune. Having those fresh spark plugs will be a big deal. Top mount intercoolers, they are ridiculously helpful. I don't know how true this is, but I've been told if you don't have a top mount intercooler, your car is not making 300 wheel horsepower. I know a lot of guys with WRXs that are like, you know, stage 2, and they're like, oh, I'm making 300 wheel horsepower. Nah, you're probably making like 250, 260, 270 maybe. If you don't have the top mount intercooler, you're gonna really heat soak really bad on the stock intercooler and probably won't make much power. I could be wrong, but that's just something I've experienced. In colder climates, maybe not, but anywhere where it stays somewhat warm or anywhere where it's hot, at any part of the year, that might not be the most effective thing. Another thing, if you are running the stock intercooler or another aftermarket intercooler that does not come with a shroud like this Grimspeed one, you need to have your stock engine cover or like the Perrin engine cover or something to cover that intercooler and basically direct the air into it. So if I would take the shroud off, I would lose a lot of efficiency with my intercooler because a lot of the air isn't getting forced through the fins, it's coming out. Also, heat from the engine is getting in, whereas like with this, the heat from the engine doesn't really get in because it's sealed up. My intake temperatures at the manifold are ridiculous. When it's 70 degrees outside, my intake temperature is 72 degrees. My intake manifold temperature is about 80. That is ridiculous. That means it's only 10 more degrees hotter coming into the motor than what it is outside, going through all this piping and everything. That's just insane. Those are really good numbers. And with the top mount, you don't have all that. You don't have all, you're gonna get a little bit of lag if you go with a front mount. It's not gonna be crazy, but you'll get some lag with a front mount, and you're not gonna get that with a top mount. But if you're thinking of going anything over 400 or 500 horsepower, you're gonna want a top mount because, or a front mount, I'm sorry, because the top mount is gonna start losing its efficiency pretty quick at those power levels. I'm gonna talk about my goals with you. My power goals, what I plan on making, eventually, like what all is gonna go down with this thing. So what I am hoping on is, right now I'm making just shy of 400 wheel horsepower. I'm probably gonna need a clutch at some point soon. I definitely needed a clutch on my last WRX at this power level, but that car also had 60,000 miles and saw quite a few track days while I had it, and who knows, maybe before. But I'll probably end up going with the same clutch that I had on that car with the lightweight flywheel, the ACT Street Light. That was great. I loved that. From there, I would really like to get some headers with external wastegates. That is really up there on the list, and an upgraded turbo. Haven't decided which yet. But if I get all that, and I'd really like to make over 500 horsepower this year. That would be insane. Now, the stock motor might detonate, the stock transmission might detonate. I don't know, but I'm willing to push it. I'm willing to try it. So that's basically what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that within the next couple of months, well, not even by the end of the summer, I'd like to be making 500 wheel horsepower or damn close to it. That would be great. 450 wheel would be cool too, but I'd like to be making around 500 horsepower. That would be sweet. But besides that, guys, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to go over that with you, and you know, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. I will give you any answers that I know. I'll look up stuff if I have to, but so go ahead. And also, I have my email on my YouTube now, so if you want to ask me a personal question, you don't want it in the comments, you can also email me as well. So anyways, guys, I appreciate you watching. Thanks for your time, and I'll see you then in the next video.